Well, ladies and gents, it is another glorious day above ground, but it is another very wet day as it is raining, it is pouring, and the old holster maker is snoring. So, but we're going to be building a lot more stuff today, and I wanted to make a split mold. Now, I've made them before by, like accessories and stuff. I haven't done firearms, but I want to try and do a firearm split mold today. So I bought multiples of a particular mold because I'm starting to get a lot of them, and this particular job would be a lot easier if it was on a vac mold, but nobody makes it. I don't have a 3D scanner anymore. I bought one, and it was the biggest POS ever, and it was $800, so I returned it, got my money back, and I'm saving up my pennies to get one that is $2,200. That way we could actually do something that works. So I wanted to try this way, and hey, we're gonna take a blue gun, we're gonna map it out on a base, we're gonna cut it in half, we're gonna block it. It's gonna be a couple-day process, so we'll see. Because I gotta put Bondo on it and then sand it down and just get all the blocking right, or I just leave it as it is and just do a couple things and then add blocking to it after the fact. But we'll see what happens. But like I said, I have a couple more, but this is a job that I actually have to do, so I'm going to start doing it. So that means changing out the bandsaw blade. That means grabbing it. And in case you haven't, or if you haven't found it or looked, it's actually the HK Mark 23. I've done a few builds on this, so this is a brand new blue gun that I got for the HK Mark 23 just for this purpose. The other one I have is slightly modified to do this, but I'm getting a lot of stuff, or a lot of orders for these because I started making them. Now, here's the issue. To attach a light, you need a rail adapter, and that rail adapter is only in metal. So what I'm going to have to do is copy it, cut it in half, make it work, make it fit, and go from there, and that way I could add lights. Now, luckily, Holstersmith is now producing lights, so and they're also going to be doing split lights and all that stuff. So I'm going to be working on a collaboration with them to see what's going on with it. So that'll be fantastic, because then anybody can make their own splits without a CNC machine or anything like that. And yeah, just see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is, I'll probably get this prepped, get it on there, and let's go from there and let's bust it out. And so I'm going to do a couple things to the mold. I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to cut the grip off because we don't need it, and that's just extra time in the bandsaw. And then I'm going to go ahead and pretty much at the mold line, you can see that there's a line in the center. I'm going to go ahead and just cut that straight in half. So it'll take a couple minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and rock that, and then we'll have a split. Well, a partial split, because then we got to go ahead and shave some stuff. And I have a QLS setup to do just for this, and instead of foam pressing it and knocking it out that way, I want to do it this way, because even though this mold is going to take, or this holster is going to take a lot longer to do, all the holsters after the fact are going to be a lot faster because it's just going to be a vac press. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And of course, we're going to have to fill the trigger area with epoxy and build it up, Bondo it, and get it going. And who knows, maybe I'll use the CNC, but let's get it built, or get it cut at least. Well, instead of using the bandsaw to cut the grip off, I decided to use my table saw, so let's just do that. Tee-hee. Dang, son, that's cute. It's starting to look more and more like a split gun already, but look, it's shorter. Wonder. Anyways. Imagine if it looked like this. Too cute.
Check it out. Check it out.
You know, for doing that by hand, that's not terrible. Yeah, a little bit of right there, but that's all right. Same with this side. Not bad. But important thing is half the front sight. Half the front sight. So now all I gotta do is get a piece of wood, build it up, measure the distance right here that'll need to fold, which is probably gonna be around 3/4 of an inch because that's roughly what it is. And then I get the job to go ahead and put Bondo here, Bondo there. We could grind these down and put Bondo there as well. Or, same thing, we're gonna have to Bondo, block all this stuff. We'll do epoxy here, build that up. There's quite a few things that we're gonna do to this, and it's gonna take a hot minute. After going ahead and splitting these, just cleaning them up real quick, I'm not gonna bother sanding the bottom really. But what I did do is I had some wood laying around from another build, and this one side, if you notice, is black. It is actually a chalkboard, and the other side is dry erase board. It's super smooth, so this is the reason why I'm doing it. I'm not gonna do the chalkboard side. I'll probably do this side, but who knows? We'll see. But I cut this, so we have some room here to start making the split board, and I mean, it's looking pretty good. I do like the contrast of the black and the blue. And here's what it looks like on this side, but there's still a lot to do. And like I said, part of that will be to fill in this guy right here with some epoxy, which means I'm gonna get out the hot glue gun and stuff like that, because with it not being perfectly flat, and you can see the teeth marks and the grooves like so, the glue will just leak underneath it and create a huge mess. So I'm just gonna seal everything once I get it into the spot that I want. Which is a lot of measuring to make sure that these are parallel to each other, because you don't want that mess up. And then, like I said, there's going to be some blocking to do after the fact, but I might just mount everything to the board, either that, or I'll just go ahead, block all this stuff out right here, because I want to get rid of the serrations, and I got to get rid of this. And on this side, we have to file down the controls, add some blocking. But like I said, we could do that after the fact with just a little tape like we do with the Pale Horse molds behind me that you see. So let's bust out the Bondo and let's do that. I actually have another gun I need a Bondo, so this is perfect time. Now, Bondo needs a place to stick, and if you ever paid attention in art class growing up, then you know that you need to mark everything that way it fits. And you saw me earlier use Rem oil, and Rem oil will cause things not to stick. So we actually have to go ahead and get this pretty well cleaned, so all this will work. Now this is, I think it's 91% isopropyl alcohol, and what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and spray it with some Parts Master brake cleaner, and I'll do that after the fact, and then I'll probably wipe it down again and blow it off, just because I can. You know, it can never be too clean. A lot of this doesn't need to be worked, but I will be putting Bondo here on these. I'll put a little bit right here. I might not put a little bit right here, but the trigger guard area does need it. And I do have some water weld that I will be using as well, because that stuff is thicker and easier to work with than El Bondo. So, but we're gonna Bondo the big places. And like this right here, we could epoxy for smoothness, but we could also Bondo it and shave it, so that's really no big of a deal. And let's get it pretty much all set. So I'm gonna go ahead, spray it down real quick outside, even though it's still raining, and I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some Bondo, and let's get this in here. And you know, we're gonna have to shape it. So, but right here, Bondo in here. We're gonna do Bondo on here, which I didn't shave, so I'm gonna do that real quick. And then for the ejector, because that's just something you need to block off, and like I said, the rest of that as well. And just to warn you, this is definitely going to be a multiple part video, because I like to let Bondo cure for quite some time. I just don't go ahead and, you know, once it's somewhat hard, go ahead and start working everything, because it's brittle, it cracks, it'll fall off, and I just don't want to do that. So after I lay down some Bondo, I'm going to let it do, I'm going to let it cure for like 12 hours, 24 hours, and I'm going to come back to it. So I'll probably just let it sit, come back to it tomorrow. I'll let it sit under the ovens while I'm doing other stuff, but there's definitely time to do things in between the curing. So let's already get set up with the Bondo, It's lightweight auto body filler I got at my local store. And I got extra hardener, and let's just add some stuff. So I'll probably just start out with the side that needs the most. Like I said, we're going to be throwing here, up here, along this edge. I might wait to do this because, I mean, let's face it, it's going to get kind of iffy. And then this is going to be filled with self-leveling epoxy, so that should be fine. Obviously, we don't have to worry about this. This I am going to fill and mold some water weld, so that would be fine. The front, we're going to use a piece of copper pipe. And then this right here, I'm just going to use the piece of wood that you saw us do on one of the first videos. So this is going to be like this. I'm going to chop one in half. I'm obviously going to make another one, chop it in half, and then we go ahead and add our side channel blocking on top of that, so I don't have to worry about it. And go from there. So let's get some El Bondo out. And if you can't tell, there is a pane of glass here. The wall art that I use, the Kydex wall arts that you've seen, I go ahead and I just keep these for this purpose. You can clean them and whatnot, but I just usually throw them out in the dumpster. All right, let's get a little bit of hardener. Sadly, I just don't know where my applicators went. They're somewhere in the garage, so let's see here. Let me scoot this back up a little bit more. It'd be a lot better if I had them, but let's see. All right, happy with that. And just remember, the more hardener you put, the faster it is. Also, the more brittle it'll be. So, but let's get to mixing. Good thing I bought a lot of this because I'm going to have to use this downstairs on some of the cars. But alright, so that's good. And let's get some Bondo on. And honestly, I really don't care how messy this gets because it's all going to get sanded anyway. And definitely don't be afraid to add way too much, because again, it's getting sanded. But also remember, I have the CNC, so I'll probably work off that. Alright, so there's that. Let's get a little bit right here. Gotta get some in here. You already feel it starting to harden. So I definitely use a little bit too much, but it's all right. Yep, and now it's getting sticky, which means pot life is over. Alright, so that looks pretty good actually. Alright, that's all we needed there. Like I said, all this is going to be blocked out, and I'm going to be cutting some of this on the CNC machine. So, yep, that's hard. Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead, clean some of this up, and once it dries, you just bend it and it flicks off of it, so I don't have to worry about it. Alright, I'll set this aside and pretty much use this as a gauge. So instead of touching this, I touch this. Yeah. And we'll let it sit. And pretty much these are just going to be tucked back in the corner here and away from everything else that I'm working on. So, hooray. Let's move on to the next thing. Actually, while it's doing that, I set it up on this just to, you know, kind of get a feel for it. So, yeah, we're going to have to use a 1 foot by 1 foot piece. And as we could see here, let's see here. 12 inches is about an inch above that one, and about 1.5 inches over this one. So, yeah, 12 by 12 should work just fine, which is big enough for my press. And like I said, we have to fill a lot of this in, and I'm going to fill inside to seal it with some hot glue, but that's going to be after I map out where this is, but I'm not going to do that till after these are all set. And with that being said, thank you for joining me for part 1 of this build. This is going to be a multi-day holster build for a simple IWB, and I also have a simple OWB with RTI plate and a hood. So this is going to be the fastest way to do it. Instead of doing the foam and letting it cool in there and potentially moving blocking, this is going to be a lot faster to have a dedicated vac mold just for this. So City of Boston's calling me. Well, the last video cut out as I was talking because, well, the City of Boston Police Department, they ended up calling me and put an order in. So, anyways, now I got that. But we're going to come back to this. I'm going to let the Bondo cure, and then I'm going to start moving things around and get it going. Get it married to where it needs to be on that plate. And like I said, I'll probably use the CNC with the end mill and get that real flat with the Bondo. But I want it perfectly all set. And yeah, we're going to move on to the next one. So thanks for watching part 1. Don't forget, you only have a couple days left, less than a week, for 10% off at holstersmith.com for the 10,000 subscriber giveaway, which we're over, I think we're at 10,300 now, which means there's going to be another giveaway relatively shortly at the rate we're going. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all of you. Enjoy this rainy, rainy, rainy day.